Today I thought I'll talk about two concepts of smart shipping and augmented intelligence. And coming from the Silicon Valley, I thought it's good to talk about technology and its relevance to shipping. I want to also acknowledge my colleague here, Captain Steve Blair. He's in the podium here and very familiar with Greece and in Athens specifically. I thought I'll start with a quick summary of where we come from. We are an 80-year-old company, have a software in about 900 vessels. We've been traditionally doing enterprise fleet management software across various, so it's a lot of software. And I think what we realize is that in any company, just like any ship, there is no standard software out there. And everybody who has software don't talk to each other. And we are either looking for one system that does it all, or software that does things extremely well but don't talk to others. That's kind of what we learned, and I think what we've now taken is a quantum leap towards the data side of business. So our company now has two sides of business. One is I call the enterprise product, and the second is the intelligence products. With that concept, I thought I'll take a minute to talk about this hype cycle, Gartner hype cycle. I thought it's a good educational methodology. The hype cycle is just to explain as a curve. When you hear of a new technology, there's a lot of buzz around it. Everybody is putting money, venture companies are putting money in the business, and then there is what they call a trough of disillusionment, that you came up with a nice concept, but it didn't prove to the market something. And then there is a slope of enlightenment, and then there's a plateau of productivity. So in any technology, and it's interesting when Gartner starts the hype cycle, it applies to even a relationship. If you have a girlfriend, there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of honeymoon period, and there's a level of illusionment, and then you either go on with a happy life or you kind of go separate ways. So I think you can apply this hype cycle to anything, and I would just say the same hype cycle can be applied in shipping. Last year we're talking about ballast water treatment, today we're talking about fuel, then we talk about new future of, and so you're going to see every time new things are happening, and everything will go through a hype cycle. All I want you to do in this hype cycle is try to identify something you recognize. Maybe it's quantum computing, or it is augmented reality, or it is virtual assistant. But all I'm trying to say is that if you come here, and if you see the IoT platform there, it is kind of in a peak of inflated expectations, that everybody expects something to happen. And that's where smart comes in. And so what smart shipping is that people feel smart is to do with intelligence. Smart has got nothing to do with intelligence. I think we're doing very smart things here. But smart really here implies that, and I thought I'd bring up here. So just to give you a context, when you have a smart device, there is some automation. A smart device is something that has some automation, and like a coffee maker. You can program the coffee maker to make sure it makes coffee, but it's not connected anywhere. You can just go home and program it to make coffee at 6 a.m., and that's a smart device. Then you have a smart connected device, but the advantage of doing this is you can remotely control and monitor it through maybe a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi, and may or may not be connected to the internet. And then you have the IoT device, which is really a combination of product application, analytics, and some inter-networking. And here you come up with smart cities, smart factories, smart homes, and now I call smart shipping. So give an example about where smart shipping fits in. You could be in a smart home where you could have any of these icons here. You could have a CCTV that is smart. You could have a smart fridge, and everything becomes part of a smart home. So in smart shipping, really what I'm kind of putting a context is you have a smart ship that you had nicely explained in what Sila's doing is putting a smart ship, putting sensors, and then you have a smart port, and then the smart port connects to smart cities in the land or other smart ecosystems out there, and they all talk to each other. So I think given this context, I think IoT is a great way of doing it, and there is the one thing I want to put a perspective is that artificial intelligence and automation will remove humans from the equation. So there is a purpose why we are doing automation. We are trying to get rid of humans. So I just want to give that lesson. And in spite of whatever people pitch to you, the idea is that there is AI and automation will kind of, I would say, reduce humans. And that's a direct economic cost of doing that. However, I want to propose to you a couple of issues with smart shipping. I think one of the challenges we see in shipping is there are no standard ships. There is no Boeing or Airbus making one, as a manufacturer, making something that is smart. We're all learning our own, and everybody's trying to make their own ship. The question then is, who owns the data? Is the manufacturer of the equipment? So for example, in other areas, if you have a smart CCTV or a smart camera or a smart refrigerator, that company manufacturer is making sure the data is getting collected and being sent across, and they're studying the patterns. And there's some very interesting studies about how are we giving data away? I bought a refrigerator, then why is the manufacturing taking my data? And are they reselling it to somebody else? So there are questions about people. There's a company called Viswa that got fined $200 million because they're watching what you're watching and then selling that data to somebody else. And so essentially the question really is, who owns the data? Is the manufacturer, the owner, or the operator, or the manager? The business model, who pays for it? You could get free software and then you give the data away, or you pay for software, then you own the data. And then who benefits from it? So the new business models that are going to come up. So let us be open to those. Business privacy, as you said, Hamburg doesn't want to talk to Rotterdam. People are, trying to come up with a competitive environment. If I give my something away, will I lose my competitive edge? There is a question to ask. Liability. What happens when this data get lost or somebody else is a breach? Cybersecurity is a very relevant topic here. And then the question really is, do they stand on their own, and how do I plug it into my existing business? The last thing that people talked about yesterday is skills and talent. Does it mean that my existing people who work with these systems have to be retrained? Am I hiring new sets of people? So I think smart shipping will bring these issues, and I believe these are issues that one needs to consider. I wanted to bring about this concept of augmented intelligence. And I want to quote Elon, who everybody respects, says, excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. To be precise, my mistake. Humans are underrated. And you would probably see this concept in shipping a lot. People believe there is a value of experience. Machine learning is going to change every single aspect of technology, but no machine will be able to mimic the creative ability of the human mind. This is the CEO of Adobe. So we must respect the fact that there is a value for a human in this whole technology business. And what augmented intelligence really is saying is it refers to humans and artificial intelligence working together to enhance cognitive performance, including decision-making, learning, and new experiences. So us, OceanManager as a company, is using this as our philosophy. We are really saying is that if it is relevant today, it is relevant to how we operate, it is relevant to maritime as industry, and it makes you what I call a bionic person. That means if you have a human with things that makes you tools and technology that makes you a better person, we will believe in those technologies. So that's the philosophy of our business. We applied this to something that we have been working on, and I'm trying to apply augmented intelligence to safety. And so what we realized is that this is a statement we said there have been 20,000 plus casualties over the last 7 years, 6,000 plus people got injured, and there were 600 casualties. Is this a human problem that we can solve with augmented intelligence? And so we took this problem statement, and we realized that there could be reasons why this happened, right? There are no dynamic navigation aids, which means that if you go on I took analogy of a road, you drive on streets, every street has navigation aids. There is icy when wet, accident-prone zone. There are some dynamic aids all the time. It's telling people, watch out. There is a hospital, there are schools, nothing on the ocean, right? I mean, there is no predictive alert of operational risks, right? So if you look at it, we are looking uncharted water. Every time somebody goes on ocean, we just figure out that, okay, there is no lane. Nobody built a safe lane on the ocean. So what can we do here? So it's common sense. I'm trying to apply what we use on land as humans, and can we extrapolate to the oceans? And we believe that risks are predictable and accidents are preventable with augmented intelligence. What we did is we took out how people operate currently. So we come from enterprise business, so we took a lot of enterprise data, and we actually built a software that crunches into a system that allows people to see agnostic. So can I see two different companies and compare how you behave versus me? We have that platform today. And we built this product. What we did is we have taken a 5-element approach of our predictive analytics model. The first 4 really is across the industry. So we took industry data, and then we look at vessel characteristics. The good news is there's 50,000 ships, so we can get the data. We look at weather and visibility conditions when there is an incident, the traffic conditions. The good news about this is that when there's an incident, we know where it is, what time it is, and then what zone you are in. And we took these 4 elements, and we built a standard industry-wide, predictive analytics model. And then the last aspect is what is called as personalization. So the example is that I might have a safe road, I may have a safe vehicle, but I also need to know whether you have safe driving experience. So essentially, you could take a safe road with a safe and give it to an unsafe driver, and we'll have an incident. So the question really is, when do you bring in that personalization aspect of personalizing safety in any organization? We started by looking at these risk clusters. So we have looked at clusters in the world where these are high-risk zones, but we call geotagging these incidents. We put lat long to each incident. And we've been able to create a scenario, a model, which can tell you based on a vessel where it is, what is your probability or the risk profile to various level of incidents. We can do this exposure at a fleet level. So if I have about 20 vessels, or we have 200 vessels or 600 vessels operating in different parts of the world, you can actually monitor and say, what is my risk exposure? We can do with voyage forecasting. So just like you have a passage plan, you are able to imagine where you are today and say, I have a three-day voyage ahead of me. Can you predict my risks ahead of my time so I can give situational awareness or give information to the master on board? So now we're giving the tools and information to people on the vessel on how to operate safely. So this is not something that is collected in an enterprise, somebody making nice graphs. This is realizable tools that one can use when navigating on the ocean. Sorry. Okay. I don't know what happened, but did I finish off or? Okay.
Yes.
There was one more slide, but I think the last slide was about, we realized the last slide was about consequence. So I think safety behavior is exhumed by consequences. And we build a model where you can estimate the consequence to business, which means business interruption, to property, to environment, and lastly to injuries. So if you know the consequences of your behavior, you will exhibit a good safe behavior. So I think, in summary, I think what I did was here to demonstrate to you that augmented intelligence could be a good way of how maritime can apply these concepts and give the tools to existing mariners to use technology in a very realizable manner. Thank you.